Chapter 17. The 103rd Division, Limbo. 4.5 years earlier. In all my time supervising the 103rd's little forays into the moors, I've never seen a group of rookies do something so spire-damned stupid. I swear to Sirona, I'll see that none of you ever wear blue again. Jaden's been under my command for 6 years. He was... Silver, Gentry, and Reiner all stared straight ahead as they stood at attention and tried to absorb all the anger the waystation lieutenant could direct at them. The command building cast its shadow over them from the center of the camp. Silver stared at a single brick in the patchwork building, an ancient stone structure the Aegis had reinforced with wooden beams and a wood shingle roof. The modifications removed the mystery surrounding the building's original purpose, making it look more like a chunk of carrion turned into an improvised stew than the majestic creature it used to be. Passing soldiers and a curious group of classmates loitered in a circle around the spectacle. Apparently, this kind of drama was rare enough that passing officers overlooked the gathering, and the lieutenant was too focused on them to concern himself with spectators. She doubted that he would truly advocate for their dismissal from the Aegis, but he and Jaden were obviously close. Silver wanted to squeeze her eyes shut and hide from the scrutiny. She knew she deserved to be dressed down. Pre-sundering ruins were notoriously unpredictable and difficult to work with. She shouldn't have tried to alter them. The idea had come from the demonstration inside the ward line before the exercise. It was just so simple. If the Aegis could fund its operations by harvesting shards using humans as lures, why couldn't she do the same thing to pass her field exercise? She just improved the method of attraction a little bit. The drifter hadn't entered her calculus, though. Stupid. Dornemann had trained her in the safety mechanisms for experiments. Control the variables. Only introduce one new element each time. She had ignored all the rules and had gotten Jaden killed. And for what? To win some stupid competition that didn't have any bearing on her success as a researcher? Stupid. 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 Silver hadn't made eye contact with Gentry, since they had all sat in the center of the chapel, dumbstruck by the eerie silence that followed the blast of resonance from her failsafe. They had looked at one another, then toward the place where Jaden had been ripped from the room, his body twitching from the trauma to his brain. Then Silver looked down as their gazes fell upon her. The silent accusations continued, while the soldiers rushed into the chapel. They ended only when the trainees were called to attention for their debrief and ordered to keep their eyes forward. What little relief she felt at being spared her friend's attention dissipated as soon as Gentry finished his summary of the exercise, and the lieutenant began bellowing. Just as the man's face turned a shade of red so deep that Silver began to fear she might be the cause of a second casualty, a commotion began behind her. Boots shuffled as her fellow trainees made way. Another voice barked its way through the crowd, carrying enough displeasure to compete with the lieutenant's. Dornemann. Silver winced. The lieutenant didn't have the authority to do much more than force them to stand at attention and endure his detailed account of how incompetent and reckless they were, and how they had gotten a soldier killed who couldn't be replaced by 10 bumbling idiot trainees like them. "That is enough, Lieutenant," Dornemann said, meeting the man's eyes. "It's not nearly enough," the lieutenant yelled. "It wouldn't even be enough if we strung each of them up and lashed them until they delivered their apologies to him personally." From the corner of her eye, Silver could see moisture gathering in the man's eyes, threatening to spill over his red cheeks. Dornemann leaned close enough that only the lieutenant, Silver, and her team could hear him. "I am sorry for your loss. This is the Aegis, though. I know we aren't on the front lines, but we are far from safe." "It was just a training run," the lieutenant said quietly, as if he were unsure whom he was trying to convince. "Yes, and live training exercises have gone wrong in the past, and they will go wrong in the future. I'll take it from here. Perhaps you should go fill out your reports," Dornemann said, his voice still low. "Reports?" "Yes, I'll see to them," he said, straightening, then walking away without another word. "Gentry, Reiner, you both are dismissed," Dornemann said, turning his attention back to them. "I will get my report directly from Kren." "I know it was foolish to attempt what I did," Silver said, as soon as the others were out of earshot, trying to cut off his lecture before it began. I won't say anything about how I had the knowledge to alter those ruins. I can just play dumb. Dornemann looked at her in confusion. What are you going on about, Kren? He asked. That soldier died because of me, she said, sharing his bewilderment. Silver, advancement always has a cost, he said. I need to know exactly what you did, and how you did it. From what I have gathered, you created some kind of law using essence. How was it powered? How in the hells did you have enough time to decipher the runes in that decrepit building? His eyes held a hunger that sent a chill down Silver's back. She didn't agree that a man's life was simply an inevitable cost of advancement. The despair that had remained in the lieutenant's eyes once his anger faded pulled at her heart, but Dornemann had asked how the law worked, and the answer rose inside her before her guilt could stop it. Well, at first I just wanted to repurpose the existing runes, so we didn't have to build a ward line from scratch. But I wasn't able to fully close all of the circuits, so I knew there would be some waste, she said. Slowly at first, but gaining speed as she thought through the process again. I didn't want the inefficiency to burn out any weak points in the system, so I drew a pattern that pulled all the wasted essence and emulated the soul signatures of a group of soldiers. Dornemann stared at her, his expression unreadable. So, you're saying you wrote a rune pattern that the hellspawn of Limbo would mistake for a large group of people, drawing them to you? He said, after a few seconds. Not to me, Silver said defensively. I drew them into a trap I made, just like you did when you had us stand near the ward line to scare us. Dornemann rubbed his face with both hands. His shoulders jumped slightly with several choked breaths. Silver was just about to tell him that he didn't have to worry about her and that she would be more careful next time, when she realized that he was laughing. So you just improvised one of the most commercially promising runic patterns I have ever heard of. Something that could make a significant impact on the war effort with enough spare shards to power a few cities. To what? Finish your assignment faster? Silver blinked a few times. So, you're not mad? Dornemann just shook his head, still chuckling. He turned to 2 soldiers under his command. Put together a team of 10 soldiers, a standard ward team, and all of my research assistants. I want a permanent ward line set up around that ruin. I want to see stone pillars, between ward wire, not temporary wooden posts for a short-term position. I need a command tent and a camp set up. No one is to go inside that ruin. No one, do you understand? One of the soldiers nodded, the other staring straight ahead. Silver could see they felt the same hunger from Dornemann that she had. Dornemann had latched on, and would use every ounce of his considerable influence to follow through. Tell the lieutenant I don't want Private Kren here bothered. She is to be my lead research assistant. Also send word to the 103 in Greyhaven. She is excused from classes for the next 3 weeks at least. The soldier nodded again. Silver sensed that he was about to be dismissed, so she cut in. Major Dornemann, what about Gentry and Reiner? Who? He asked. The 2 other members of my team, she said. What is to become of them? His eyebrows knitted, then he sighed. Yes, of course. I'm sure they will go back to their classes. That isn't really your concern anymore. It's certainly none of mine. We have work to do. The lieutenant seemed to be upset with all of us, Silver said. You need to pull them into our detail so he can't do anything to them. Sure, Dornemann said, waving a hand. Whatever you want. Put the boy with the guards. He is on a command position track, right? Silver nodded. Good. And the girl can be your assistant. You are going to act as my number 2 on this project, so you are allowed a small staff. Does that work? Silver nodded again, smiling this time. Dornemann dismissed the soldiers, leaving the 2 of them alone as the camp buzzed around them. Silver was happy with the outcome, given how things were looking with the lieutenant, but something still bothered her. You say that this is your research project, she said. That's correct, he stated. Is this not my innovation? Why is this your project? She asked. The look he gave her could have frozen boiling water. I didn't realize you had been admitted to the faculty, Ms. Kren, he began. With your resources, I am sure you would have plenty of time to pursue a tested and repeatable form of your improvised lure. No one will have any issues with you bowing out of the training you are under orders to complete. Also, I am sure you won't have any issues explaining why you admitted yourself to a faculty member's personal library to consult texts you are forbidden from making use of, especially since your foray into the moors ended in the death of a very well-respected and apparently loved veteran soldier. Silver saw what he was doing. He was right in that she couldn't do it alone, but he was overstating his case. Perhaps I could use some help with my research, but don't act like the blame for the soldier's death would fall at my feet alone. That lovely librarian is a hellacious gossip from what I've been told. Our extracurricular research sessions wouldn't be hard to corroborate. Dornemann fidgeted for a moment, allowing her time to continue. She paused to show him that she knew her leverage was real. I want a co-authored paper, and joint ownership of any patent residuals the Aegis allocates from the runic pattern, she said. Co-author credit? And half the residuals? He barked. You're a first year. A research assistant would put you on track to a teaching position. I don't want to be on track. I want a teaching position as soon as we publish. I will bring you in, but you know as well as I that staying in classes for another year and a half is a waste of my time. If I am credited as a co-author of a runic pattern that is as important as you clearly think it is, then that position should be assured. Dornan paused, considering. The classes are unnecessary, I admit. I will credit you as a co-author to my research and grant you 25% of the residuals. She smiled, nodding. But only once we have a working runic pattern that we can repeat without the aid of the pre-sundering ruins. Dozens of bright ideas have died on the vine when it was discovered that they are dependent on methods we can't recreate. Utilizing this location can be lucrative, but hardly enough to make a big difference in the long run. This has to work in other locations, on other floors of the spire where the shards are more valuable. And what guarantee do I have of this? Silver asked. None whatsoever. If you don't agree right now, my conscience will be clear, and I will send you back to your classes and go decipher what you did on my own and publish without your help. Make no mistake, if I choose to do this, there is nothing you could do about it. Silver hesitated. If ever she had begun to trust Dornemann, the look in his eyes told Silver that he placed their relationship as a distant second to his work, just as she did to hers. If she pushed, her opportunity would end there. Very well, she said with a sigh. Fantastic, he said, turning toward the gate closest to the chapel. Let's get to work then,